Rev up your engines!
Well, things are getting so wonky in the used car business that now Tesla dealers are trying to buy cars back from owners with cleverly worded text messages. They say, you want to sell your car back to us? You may be eligible for tax savings if you trade it in. Of course, like all the other used cars, since there's such a supply demand and the new cars aren't being made fast enough, used cars are often going for more than new cars. In many cases, Tesla used cars are going for more than new models, and Tesla even changed their lease policy so it could have more control over the used fleet. So it turns out that Tesla is sending unsolicited text messages to owners that say, you get a free valuation of your vehicle. And it has a little sales pitch at the end that says, you might be eligible for tax savings if you trade it in. Of course, trading it in means you're selling yours to them. And then they'll sell it to somebody else for more money. One man said, hey, they're offering me as much for my Model X as I paid for it years ago and 40,000 miles ago. Another guy said, I didn't have to buy another car. They told me that you don't have to buy another one, trade in and buy another one. They'll just buy it. I personally find the whole thing patently absurd. And when the recession comes, of course, all this stuff will go down by the wayside. And it'll be, boy, why were people that dumb to pay that kind of money for that? Because recently there was a guy who bought a Model S Plaid for 120 grand, and a month later he sold it for 190,000. When I was in Houston years ago, next door neighbor bought a Model S. The original owner paid 120. He bought it used with 15,000 miles on it for $45,000. That's what they're really worth. That was before the coronavirus pandemic nonsense pulled all this stuff. That's what they're really worth, a lot less. So if you can make money on it now, my advice is take their offer and take the money, because soon they'll be going down and you'll have wished they were going to give me all that money for the car. No, they're not. Yeah, that's what happens when the economy goes decades ago in the dot-com factory in New York State. Made glass, they fiber optic cable too, right? At one point in time, the stock was trading at over $3,000 a share. It was going bananas. Months after it reached its high, I bought 1,000 shares for 99 cents a piece. Don't be fooled by the myth of bloated prices today. They'll come down. Just be patient. Andrew Cully says, what do you think of the newer Dodge Darts? Not much. The original Dodge Darts were the economy car, and some guy put V8s back in the 70s and stuff. The newer Dodge Darts are basically a lot of Fiat technology, and just like Fiat cars, I mean, Fiat owned them. It used to be Fiat Chrysler, now it's Stellantis, but still, when they were making the Dodge Darts, it was Fiat and Chrysler. They had a lot of Fiat technology, and it was garbage. They were terrible cars. And they weren't like a cute little muscle car. They were just a cheap econobox car. I rented one once. I thought, what a pile of junk. The only advantage was I was renting it, and it did get phenomenal gas mileage. But I could tell the transmission was already starting to go out and slip on it, and it only had like 12,000 miles on it. CD&R says, Scotty, what are your thoughts on a Lexus RCF with 5-liter V8? Do you think it's a reliable car and a reliable engine? Well, Lexus makes excellent vehicles, and they're reliable for quite some time. The only problem is mileage. Everything breaks. Now, generally, those things don't start breaking until they get 180, 200,000 miles or more. But when they do, the money goes flying out. I had customers in Houston with them. They loved the cars, but eventually they got rid of them. And they found out that they needed a brake master cylinder, was part of a whole assembly, and the part alone was $1,800, and the window switch was $700. The parts are outrageous on those V8 Lexuses, but they do last quite some time. So if you're talking about buying, a used one that's really high mileage, I'd think twice. But if it's lower mileage, it can still last quite some time. Just realize everything eventually breaks. You're better off, if you want to get a long life out of a Lexus, to get a 6-cylinder ones. The parts are much cheaper, and having less horsepower, they also wear out slower too. Agent 666 says, how can I diagnose a car with a laptop? Well, I do it all the time, but you have to have software. There are hundreds of companies out there that sell software for diagnosing cars. It depends on what kind of a car you have and what you want. Like, let's say you got a Volkswagen Audi product. There's a really good company out there, and it's only like $500, and it just plugs into your laptop, and then it plugs into the data port. There are all kinds of systems out there. It depends on what you want to pay and what you want to get. Okay, you already got the laptop, right? The laptop's got all the hardware. Why buy all the hardware when all you need is the software? So there's a lot of companies out there that sell them, but it depends on what vehicle you have, how far you want to go. I mean, if if you want to just kind of toy around, as I talked earlier, you might just use a smartphone and use that Blue Driver stuff. If you can find it for $99 on sale, even at $129, it's still a deal. It does a tremendous amount of stuff. And that's only, $100. A lot of the laptop software is made for pros like me, and some of that stuff costs $1,000, $1,500, $3 or $4 or $5 grand. Some of them cost even more because they're being used by mechanics. And some of them you can only buy on a subscription. You buy the subscription from the manufacturer, and then you plug it in and use your laptop for it. And the subscriptions aren't cheap because they're for professional mechanics. Turtleman says, Scotty, what's your opinion on a 14 to 18 Subaru Forester 2.9 manual transmission? Excellent vehicles. The weakest thing of Subarus has always been their automatic transmissions. They're better now than they used to be, but they're still not Honda or Toyota reliable. And 14 to 18, they didn't have problems with blowing head gaskets. The earlier ones did. Those did not. So that can be an excellent vehicle, those Foresters. I got customers with them that love them. The other thing is, they're always rated as one of the top safety. They're just the way they're designed, the engines are the boxers, so they're low to the ground, so they're hard to tip over because the weight's lower down. They're well-made vehicles on a standard transmission. They're really the best with the standard. And of course, they're all-wheel drive, so you won't get stuck in the snow or the mud or wherever you're going. Well, they're always talking about new batteries, better batteries. That big Chinese company, Cattle, that makes electric batteries, now says their energy-dense M3P batteries are ready in production and will be ready next year for cars. Now, these are different than the lithium iron phosphate ones that they're presently using. Ford said they're going to put them in the Lightning. Elon's putting them in as Teslas, the cheaper Teslas, because realize the lithium iron phosphate batteries have less range. They're less energy dense, right? So this new M3P battery one, they claim, can go up to 30% further, that they have more energy in them. And what's the moral of the story? As far as I'm concerned, don't buy an electric car yet. The technology, who knows? Let's say you buy a Lightning. It's bad enough it'll only go 80, 90 miles towing something with the batteries that are in it now. Then they're going to put the lithium iron phosphates, and then the range goes down even further. And this M3P one, hey, it goes further than the lithium iron phosphates. And they claim it's cheaper to make, yada, yada, yada. It's still not as good as the lithium ion phosphate ones. It's cheaper to make, yes. But the whole thing about electric vehicles are people are going to have range anxiety. You keep making these batteries that don't go further just because they're cheaper to make, kind of defeats the purpose of an electric car. Oh, we got these batteries, they're real cheap to make, but they don't really last all that long. This is Cattle, the Chinese company, that they're making them now, but they're not going to debut in vehicles till next year. Then they have to be tested out to see how they actually work in real world situations. This electric car stuff is way in the future. Let's say you waste all your money on a Lightning with a crappy battery. Then you find out that 5 years down the line, now they got great batteries, but you got the old battery. If you don't replace it, it's going to cost you a ton of money to replace it, if it's even replaceable with that type of battery. These things aren't set in stone yet, so buying one now, as far as I'm concerned, be kind of a stupid idea. Look in China, they got ones where they replace the battery pack. Instead of recharging it, they replace the battery pack. But then, of course, they have to be standardized. They all have to have the same batteries. Maybe in the future, they all will have the same battery, but they sure as heck don't now. Or have ones that can swap them out fast either, in most cases. Philip says, Scotty, how do you maintain your weight? I know you like to eat. Well, my wife does it. She tries to control me. I'm presently on a diet because I ate too much in Rhode Island. The food there is so good, I couldn't stop eating. And they fry everything. They fry everything. And my son and the grandkids love eating pizza all the time, so we go all the time and get pizza. So now I'm on my shake diet with protein and a sandwich for lunch. The main thing is you got to control the intake. People say, oh, you can eat and exercise it off. No, you can't. Like, you eat a brownie, you have to jog for, 10 miles or something, 15 miles to burn it off. So the intake is the crucial part. Do not intake too much. Otherwise, you'll just get carried away. Monosodium glutamate, and there's like 50 words for it, so natural flavors or whatever. That stuff makes you eat. It makes you eat more and more. Like the Chinese restaurants, a lot of them pour it on. They've got it in jars. When I was a kid, my mother actually used it. She didn't know. This stuff was called Accent. It came in a jar, and they were flakes. It was pure monosodium glutamate. When we were kids in high school, we'd stick your tongue out, pour some on the tongue, and somebody else would look. You could actually see with a magnifying glass the pores of your tongue open up. It just opens it up and everything tastes better. So stay away from things that have MSG. Oh, you will never stop eating. You know, they used to say, I went to a Chinese restaurant, ate, an hour later I was hungry. Yes, you were, because the amount of sodium glutamate is in your system saying eat, eat, eat. So try to stay away from that stuff. It's dangerous. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.